Welcome to the most profitable workshops for 1.1.4. Shops took a dark turn in 110 through 113, which is why I have no video on them. In 114, they did recover somewhat. I ask people to listen to the short intro as many questions I get can be answered from here. Since the change in 1.8's economy, the dynamic system, coupled with workshops being randomized each game, it makes putting a range value nearly impossible now. What I do is I test each shop in multiple towns on a variety of issues that come up, such as prosperity, multiple shops in the same town or none, village supply close by or none. I take all these numbers to get an average. That is the average that I determine which shops are ranked worst to best. And I do emphasize overall, as most shops can make great money in the perfect situation, but I look at shops being placed and forgot about. How they will do in that situation is what I look for as I test at day 150. This is the earliest I think the economy is stabilized that workshops can show true earnings potential. If you take a shop on day 500 with a 10K prosperity town, it will obviously make a lot more. But by that time, most people don't need shops. This is why I test at day 150 when people really need them. Expect different results as the days advance or the prosperity changes in town. As I've said many times before, there are a dozen factors that can go ahead and influence how much workshops make. From whether or not there's enough supply, villages getting raided, caravans buying goods, armies coming through and buying things up. There are so many factors that you can never be guaranteed to make money with workshops. The best I can do is try to point you in the right direction to the shops that I think will do good for you. I will run through each shop from worst to best with a brief explanation on them, and I will include this time my top 5 from testing that I hope will help you out. The one thing I wanted to touch on briefly was the 75 sweatshops perk, which is a personal perk that increases your workshop production. The reason why I want to touch on this is getting too much production can actually hurt your workshop. From my testing, I found that there were 2 workshops that this hurt really bad: a pottery and a brewery. It seemed to be either neutral or help all of the other ones. So if you do plan on having only potteries or breweries, I would think about possibly avoiding that perk. I hope this guide can help you make just a little bit more money in the game, as shops are still somewhat unreliable as passive income. The bad jobs. First, we'll start off with the linen weavery. This one I would avoid, as I found only a couple that were able to make over 100 a day without serious, constant micromanaging. Pottery. This is a shop that does need constant micromanaging, as pottery builds up so quickly. So unless you plan on micromanaging this shop, I would not touch it. The brewery. This is the one that I can always consider the trap shop. There's so much grain in the world. There are so many breweries around that if you find the right one in the perfect area, you can make a boatload of money. However, you are most likely never going to find that. Beer is produced at a very quick pace all over the world, needs to be micromanaged all the time, need to have your prosperity up in the town. You need to have the input coming in, driving the price down. As I said, it is a trap shop. I would not buy a brewery. Smithies, they are totally inconsistent. I've had some make 100 to 200 a day, but most every single one I had could not even make 50 a day. There's a couple issues that go along with the smithy. Iron ore is really cheap. And while it costs less each day to actually run a smithy, Tailward lowered the iron output produced by villages. So while it gave you a buff, it gave you a nerf. It is also so cheap that it is taken by caravans a lot, and therefore it drives the price up or gets rid of it altogether. So these are another one of those that I would look to avoid if you're looking to make money. The only reason to have a smithy is because it does increase the chance of higher tier items dropping. Wood workshops. These were absolutely trash when I did my testing. I was able to find one wood workshop that could make me over 100 a day. Most every one was zero, and I have absolutely no clue why they are like that. I put them in the best places, I had nothing around them, and for some reason, they're making no money. I can only assume that once again, like the smithies, the output or the products are not being consumed. Therefore, the towns are filling up and they're not running. So I would absolutely avoid wood workshops unless once again you find that perfect area. Okay, shops, the tannery. Now they are somewhat unreliable. They can get you medium profit. However, if they are micromanaged and in the right town, they can be very good profit as tanneries produce leather, which is a luxury good that is consumed when a town gets above the 6,000 prosperity mark more than it naturally is. So it is a bit unreliable. However, if put in the right spot, it does have great potential. Velvet weaveries. These are another one of the very unreliable ones. However, this one does have the potential to make a bit more, as velvet is also a luxury good that is consumed under high prosperity. The only problem with velvet weaveries is that velvet, which is produced from silk, is kind of concentrated in a couple areas, meaning it is very easy to flood the market in those areas. Wineries. These, here we go once again, a little unstable, but not as much as the previous two. I did have some areas where I had a trouble making 100 a day, but then I would go to a high prosperity town such as one like Marinoth that has grapes close by, and they were able to do really good. The problem I've had with wineries is wine seems to be super rare that you can't actually find it in your town. And for some reason, the price doesn't really drive up that much, even if you are to buy it. So it seems to be one of those ones where if you find the right spot, it can make money, but it's very hard to micromanage them since not much wine is produced, not allowing you to drive the price up. Olive presses, they are also unreliable. However, they're a little bit more steady than the winery. They're concentrated in a certain part of the map, which is not the best, but they seem to be a little bit more steady in the profits. Not so many zeros, not so many 300s, but kind of middle of the road. So places such as Jacqueline, Juarez, that have olives close by, if there's no competition, then they should be able to do okay. Good. Coming at the number 2 workshop is wool weaveries. They seem to do really, really good. and not just in Kuzite land, but all over. I had some inconsistencies with them, but it does look like wool Reaveries have made a comeback, not to the meta level that they were 6 to 12 months ago, but they do look like probably the safest pick that you can make if you want profit. A set, forget about, don't worry about anymore. You could go with the wool Reaveries, such as the ones in Kuzite land. You also have Onira, Poros. They're all over the place, and you can get them. So those are shops that are now, I consider, one of the best in the game. And finally, at number one, to no one's surprise still, is the Silversmith. They're just good overall, virtually anywhere that you put them, as long as they do have silver ore. Therein lies the problem. Only 2 towns have a connected village with ore. Silver Ore Village is connected to a castle. So if the castle or town gets taken, that silver is going to go someplace else. But they are good overall. If you micromanage them slightly, they can make you anywhere between 3 to 500 a day if they are put in the right spot. So those are mine from worst to best. And I hope that those will have helped you out in some way. My top 5 in the game from my testing are going to be at number 5, the Onira Silversmith. One you need to watch out for as it's connected to a castle north of it. Number 4, the Chalkend Wool Weavery. This was actually a surprise to me until I noticed that Chalkend has actually a decent prosperity, and it was able to make me 250 to 300 a day just forgetting about it. At number 3, the Marineth Wine Press. Now, this is one you need to watch out for, that there isn't too much wine around, as Pankanak and also, I believe it is Dunglanis, has grapes. So be very careful watching out for those. But if Marineth can maintain its prosperity and you don't have too many shops close by, Marineth can make great money with a wine press. Number 2, the Sanala Silversmith. It's left alone in Aserai territory. It has probably the best potential at prosperity to be the first town to hit 10,000, which is why it is normally one of the best shops in the game. Number 1, Ortesia Silversmith. Ortesia starts out, like Sanala, as one of the highest prosperities in the game. The only downfall is that it is around a lot of action. The good news is the village is close by to the town. The bad news is that there is so much action around that a lot of the times it can get raided or the town can change hands, which can end up hurting the prosperity. But it's in such an area where everybody is at that I think a lot of the caravans hit it, buy up all that jewelry to really get the price going. So it's kind of a flip into which one you want to go with. But I think while the Sanala Silversmith is going to be more stable, the Ortesia Silversmith can actually make you more. So those are my top 5 in the game. Watch out for 1.1, 0.5, or what I think is going to happen, 1.2 to hit next. I will also hopefully have the caravan video done here very shortly. If you see it linked at the end, check out to see how caravans are doing in 1.1.4. Until next time, take care, and thanks for watching.